Quest Rogue. Rage is about to play Quest Rogue. And in the fact that like every game I ever played with Hyped or like heard his reasoning and lines of play, it just like it made a lot of sense, but it's something that I never thought about. And same thing with Rage too. Just he thinks about so much, and he zooms out all the way and can see things 5 turns down the line. But that's kind of like sometimes his own detriment. Like he always talks about how he thinks about these crazy elaborate lines and then just kind of like overthinks things sometimes.
Yeah.
It just needs to just play pretty standard once in a while here. But Rage is definitely one of the more interesting players to watch because he plays so different from most people that I see.
Yeah, and it's just he's very good at doing that as well. Like he's got a brilliant mind for the game and really understands momentum, and not just momentum for momentum's sake, but when the momentum is most important. Looking at Death Rattle Hunter from RayC, looking like a fairly stock list. He's had his Zoo Warlock banned away. He's got Odd Paladin and Malagos Druid featuring Lich King and Alexstrasza as the Druid deck there. On Rage's side, he's had Taunt Druid banned away. He's rolling with, of course, Quest Rogue here. He's got Cloning Gallery Priest.
Oh, Resurrect Priest.
And he's running with Death Rattle Hunter as well. So
Yeah.
I like to call this Cloning Gallery Priest rather than Resurrect Priest because I feel like Resurrect Priest is reserved for Zalae's Priest deck right now.
Okay,
a true Resurrect Priest deck.
with Eternal Servitude and the spell stuff.
It is meant to simply resurrect big minions. The Cloning Gallery deck wants to kill you in a single turn by getting Malagos, Prophet Velen, 2 Radiant Elementals, and Mind Blasting you for 40.
Yeah, well, not surprising that Rage likes his very weird, obscure OTK decks. But, you know, focusing in on what's happening here, the Quest Rogue is going to land it on Wax Elemental. And Quest Rogue not having Giggle Inventor makes their defense significantly worse, but also makes their late game a lot weaker. So I wonder to see if Rage can really pilot this expertly against one of the more explosive decks currently out there.
2 of the big things I look at is how well Rage's lineup is aimed at not only playing against Death Rattle Hunter, but also playing against certain types of Druid. You know, Quest Rogue with a Lab Recruiter in it is going to be quite good versus Druid. It's going to be quite good versus Death Rattle Hunter as well. It's really tough for them to just purely gash you out. Cloning Gallery Priest is so good against Death Rattle Hunter that it is absurd. Like, I actually don't think I've defeated a Xerix Cloning Gallery Priest on Death Rattle Hunter. For those of you out there wondering what the card does, it's a 9-mana legendary spell for Priest that says, summon, fill your board up with 1/1 copies of minions from your deck. And so you play super high value minions like Malagos, Obsidian Statue, Lich King, Prophet Velen, and then your goal is to eventually, if that doesn't work, land a Diamond Spellstone that's upgraded to resurrect those minions and then kill them in 1 turn. Those 2 factors, and then also the animal companions that are in Rage's Death Rattle Hunter deck, he wants to pressure decks that are weaker in the early game, and then the decks where he can't pressure them instead have giant combos that they don't interact well with.
Well, Rage picks up Lab Recruiter, like you mentioned. We'll see if that ends up being needed whatsoever. Rage has the Elven Minstrel Wax Elemental this turn. I think Sonya was something that he would have considered if he needed to stay alive through the pressure. But right now, it looks like his opponent can't efficiently get through even just the Wax Elementals. And he can keep his draw going, saving Sonya for that deckhand and guaranteeing the clear.
Rage's facial expressions are always so interesting to me.
Yeah,
when he's playing. Like, he wears his heart really on his sleeve, where he goes deep into thought and he just kind of stares off into space and visualizes outcomes.
I've never seen Rage with so much facial hair, too.
That's how much you know he's been playing.
Okay, so this is one of those things we're talking about. Rage, unafraid to take some of those risks. And when he saw a flanking strike being used so early, feels like he can get away with using Sonya this early.
How do you get a flanking strike now? That's the thought.
I mean, I'm always thinking about ways I can just use Sonya to finish the quest. You know, like Elven Minstrel and Wax Elemental seem perfectly fine to me. And now he found like this one window where Rage or RayC can't answer it easily. He has to use something off tracking.
And that's probably a failure if he had that sit-up moment where he's like, okay, got to take a risk here, Spider Bomb, play dead.
It
does get to eliminate Sonya.
Yeah, it's guaranteed no matter what.
But, you know, Rage would have liked to see it the other way instead. Wanted the second Wax Elemental. So now it's a much more difficult fight for Rage at this point. But his plan every step of the way when I watch him play Quest Rogue is fight for the board and then figure out where to complete quests later on.
Okay.
That's the way that I have started to play as well. And granted, I am not good at Quest Rogue. I've probably been maybe like 20 games deep total in the deck lifetime. But watching Rage play gave me such good insight into how resilient this deck can be and how scrappy you have to get at times. Like, there are times where literally I have missed a single point of damage, and it's cost me a game. Or times that I've done one thing where I left, one less 1/1 on board, and it cost me a game.
Well, Rage picks up the second South Sea deckhand in his deck. So now he's only one bounce away from finishing the quest. So it's kind of like what you're saying, right? You prioritize survival. Because Quest Rogue has the ability to go long to so many other decks. And this is Rage's way to potentially guarantee that, because he has Elven Minstrel to help dig out more South Sea deckhands.
And this is what I mean. Like, this is so strange and counterintuitive to watch. And he's so concerned with wiping out board presence and keeping as much as he can that he's just like throwing minions in the way and going, I hope I don't take 5 damage.
Yeah, Mossy Horror here, though. That hurts.
Smashing. It's
that
smashing.
Hurts a lot. Oh, Wax Elemental.
The problem is that the Mossy Horror provided an additional 5/5 here.
Yeah.
So Rage is under a lot of pressure in this spot, but again, the Elven Minstrel, the Wax Elemental, the South Sea Deckhand, I still think that he's in an okay spot this game. This is really the big turn. And there's the South Sea Deckhand.
Another Elven Minstrel to keep the gas going. That's a pretty big pickup.
Yeah. And so now one of the big questions is the Wax Elemental and where it fits. At this point, Rage is, completing the quest, so it's a matter of finding the Wax Elemental and the Vicious Scalehide turn that makes the most sense. With another Elven Minstrel in hand, if RayC cannot pressure Rage out of the game, quite quickly from here, I think Rage is going to take over. But that's really the big one, is watching how Rage uses the cards that he has left.
Yep, so next turn he'll have 8 mana, which allows him to play South Sea Deckhand, get the quest done, and that'll leave 2 mana remaining, so he can't play Wax Elemental and Vicious Scalehide. But Vicious Scalehide's so much better with the buff compared to Wax Elemental.
He could South Sea this turn. I don't think it's unreasonable to get that extra mana next turn. Maybe you need that Vicious Scalehide to do that much. And that's really, part of what I'm talking about is, he wants the fresh dagger here.
Yeah.
Because, he feels like that's going to be vital some stage down the road. But there is a real potential to use the South Sea Deckhand to buy an extra mana next turn.
RayC with another tracking, looking for something big and powerful to pressure the Quest Rogue. Knows that it's a high chance that Rage will be able to finish the quest soon. And looking at RayC's Hunter deck, pretty standard stock list. Charged Devilsaur, King Crush, 2 Grizzlies.
Was it the same as Saiyans? I believe it was.
Fairly similar, I believe. There could be a tech card or two.
There's no Defender Vargas. So the Defender Vargas is still the Mossy Horror.
I like the Defender Vargas tech ever since I saw Language Hacker doing it. Made a lot of sense. This Kel'Seth buff on the Witchwood Grizzly, by the way, is massive.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of been something that's been on...
But changing the 5/5s to 4/4s doesn't change anything. Changes a lot.
It changes a lot.
That Grizzly would be dead with 2 5/1s on board instead of alive killing 2 minions. And leaving itself at 1 health instead. The fact that there's even a way to fight Quest Rogue now, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, that makes it naturally more interactive. This has been a fairly interactive game of Quest Rogue versus a non-Quest Rogue deck. Like, there's a lot of board fights going on constantly. Ray has the ability to put out even more pressure with Devastator Egg and Carnivorous Cube.
Well, I'm curious if that puts out more pressure than maybe the Flanking Strike does.
Oh, the Devastator's not buffed. Okay, I thought it was buffed by the Kel'Seth, so it was like you can't Flanking Strike your own egg if it's
I think
a 1/4.
the cube's a 5/7. Yeah, the cube's still better. Way better. I'm stupid to even suggest that. Don't listen to me.
Another Scalehide.
Well,
but Rage has no Vanish.
But he does have Brewmaster with the Scalehide, so there is opportunity for him, I think, to start, setting up a stave-off pressure turn. He's got Wax Elemental with the useful Brewmaster here, and so the first step is find Elven Minstrel and then parse it afterwards. Which one do you need to use?
Yeah, and now Giggling Inventor is where it'd be really good. Or he can build his own Giggling Inventor type thing situation. What happens if Rage loses this 4/4 to a Spider Bomb? Well, he's dead. There's not really much you can play around with that, I think.
Yeah, for Rage right now, Flanking Strike and Candle Shot are going to be in mind, but I'm not sure he has really super good ways to play around that. Because if he goes with Zola and the extra Wax Elemental, now he's vulnerable to Mind Control Tech. That card, that Mind Control Tech in RayC's hand has been there for quite a while, so it could be anything from Mind Control Tech to Hunter's Mark to King Crush.
It's true.
At this point. So Rage does not have strong reads, and it's about the variable range and the numbers at this point. He just doesn't have the time, and you can see he's trying to calculate, and he's like, everything leads to a bad spot in some way or another. So he has to hope Mind Control Tech fails in this spot, because that's exactly what RayC has. Oh. And it does not. Big steal.
Is that just game?
Yeah, that's game.
He's just dead.
RayC 3-0 over Rage. And it's just the pressure from it. Honestly, the Keleseth buff on the Grizzly probably was the big difference in that game.
And also just like no access to a Giggling Inventor to stay alive very conveniently. Like Giggling Inventor plus a Scale Hive just makes sure that he stays alive in that spot.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think it just goes to show you the weakness of Quest Rogue these days and why it is a liability. Yes, still a fantastic deck by all means in terms of sheer power level, but I mean, Rage was able to stave off as much pressure, still finish the quest anyways, but ended up just taking a little bit too much damage from the Hunter. And I mean, if Rage was able to stabilize for a turn or two, I still think he could have done it.
I still look at that South Sea deckhand on the previous turn with the dagger instead.
Oh,
if
he
saves
the
a mana
quest out,
there, he gets to quest, Scale Hide plus
wax
on that turn. And I don't know.